When you hear the name Loki, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? For most people today, it's the charming, sharp-tongued, green and gold trickster from Marvel movies. Loki has become one of the most instantly recognizable characters in modern pop culture. He's everywhere, in movies, games, comics, memes, and honestly, it's easy to see why. He's funny, unpredictable, and dangerously smart. But here's the twist. The real Loki from Norse mythology is nothing like the versions we see today. He's deeper, darker, more complex, and way more terrifying. In the original myths, Loki isn't just the god of mischief with a few harmless pranks. He's a shapeshifter, a manipulator, a mastermind who can either save the gods or destroy them. Sometimes he's a helpful ally. Sometimes he's the reason Asgard almost collapses. He can be brilliant and clever, but also cruel and destructive. So in this video, we're going to peel back the Hollywood layer and explore the true Loki, the unpredictable trickster whose actions shape the fate of gods and giants, the outsider who never fully belongs, and the one figure in Norse mythology who can shift from hero to villain in a single heartbeat. This is Loki, as he was originally told. Not the Marvel version, not the sanitized version, but the real, ancient, chaotic force at the heart of Norse mythology. To understand Loki, we have to start with one simple truth that surprises a lot of people. Loki was never originally a god. Unlike Thor, Odin, or Freya, Loki didn't come from the proud and powerful Aesir bloodline. He came from the Jotun, the giants. In Norse mythology, giants aren't just big creatures who smash things. They're ancient beings, older than the gods, tied to nature, chaos, and raw creation. They're unpredictable, dangerous, and powerful. And Loki, he was born right in the middle of that world. But here's the strange part. Even though Loki comes from the giants, he somehow ends up in Asgard, the home of the gods. And the reason for that is his unusually close relationship with Odin. Some stories say Odin and Loki became blood brothers. Others say Odin simply saw something in Loki, intelligence, potential, or maybe just usefulness. Whatever the reason, Odin welcomed him in, and because of that, Loki was counted among the Aesir. Not by blood, not by birthright, but by the influence he held and the danger he carried. And this is where Loki gets interesting. While Thor embodies strength and courage, Loki embodies something far more unpredictable: intelligence. Loki is smart, not book smart, but dangerously smart. He's persuasive, smooth-talking, and able to twist any conversation to his advantage. He's cunning, with a mischievous streak that ranges from harmless pranks to world-changing schemes. He's a shapeshifter, a trickster, a problem solver who can outthink almost anyone. In fact, Loki's wit is often described as a match to Odin's own wisdom. Where Odin knows everything because he seeks knowledge, Loki knows everything because he manipulates knowledge. That makes Loki both a gift and a threat. If the gods needed a plan no one else could think of, they went to Loki. If they needed someone to bargain, deceive, or talk their way out of danger, they sent Loki. But if something went horribly wrong in Asgard, well, odds are Loki was also the one behind it. He was the genius no one could fully trust, the ally who could turn into an enemy in an instant, the outsider who lived among the gods but never truly belonged with them. So from the very beginning, Loki's existence is a contradiction, a giant living among gods. A friend who could become a traitor, a mind sharp enough to save Asgard or destroy it. This dual nature is what shapes everything Loki does throughout Norse mythology. He's not just the mischief maker, he's the unpredictable force that even the gods fear and desperately need. Loki's position in Asgard has always been complicated. He's not a hero, he's not a villain. He's something in between. A walking contradiction. In Norse mythology, Loki is the one character who can save the gods one moment and nearly doom them the next. He's unpredictable in a way that the Aesir can't fully understand, and that's exactly what makes him so dangerous. On some days, he's the problem solver, the one who uses his intelligence to get the gods out of impossible situations. But on other days, he is the impossible situation. The gods never know which Loki they're going to get. There were times Loki rescued Asgard with his cleverness. He stole treasures from dwarves, tricked giants, created solutions no one else could even imagine. When the gods needed someone to negotiate, deceive, or outsmart the enemy, Loki was always the first name that came to mind. But there were just as many times he betrayed them, not always out of hatred, but because he simply enjoyed the chaos. Loki's plans often spiraled out of control. A harmless prank would escalate into a crisis. A small lie would explode into something deadly. He didn't always mean to destroy things, but destruction seemed to follow him anyway. Because of this, the gods constantly questioned where Loki's loyalty truly lay. Was he on their side? Was he secretly plotting against them? Or was he simply acting for himself? The unsettling answer is, Loki's loyalty never stayed in one place for long. He helped the gods when it benefited him. He harmed them when it amused him. And sometimes, he did both at the same time. If you think about it, Loki is a lot like that one friend we all know. The one who causes the most trouble, picks fights at the worst possible moments, and somehow drags everyone into chaos. But when things go bad, he's also the same friend who shows up out of nowhere and saves the day. That's Loki. He's the person you can't live with, but somehow can't live without. The gods tolerate him because they need him. They fear him because they know his potential. And they keep him close because it's safer than letting him wander free. Loki lives in Asgard, eats at their tables, joins their adventures, yet he's never fully trusted. He's always the outsider, the unpredictable variable in a world that relies on order. And deep down, the gods know one day Loki's unpredictable nature will go too far, and that fear becomes the foundation for Loki's ultimate role in Ragnarok. If Thor is the god you call when you need a wall smashed down, Loki is the one you call when you don't want anyone to know there was a wall in the first place. Unlike most warriors in Asgard, Loki doesn't rely on brute strength, armor, or legendary weapons. His greatest weapons are his mind, words, and creativity, all of which make him far more dangerous than he appears. Loki's intelligence is his true superpower. He sees angles others can't, notices details others miss, and uses his sharp mind to outmaneuver both enemies and allies. He doesn't overpower opponents, he outsmarts them. With a few carefully chosen words, he can redirect blame, create confusion, or even convince a god that an idea was theirs to begin with. Loki can transform into almost anything: animals, humans, creatures, even insects. One famous example is when he turned into a fly to interfere with a dwarf's work. Imagine being so desperate to cause trouble that you literally transform into a buzzing insect just to ruin someone's day. It shows how far Loki is willing to go, and how creative he can be when making chaos. While not as famous as Thor's hammer or Odin's spear, Loki also owns a pair of enchanted flying shoes. These let him zip across realms, escape danger, or simply appear where no one expected him. They aren't flashy, but in the hands of someone as cunning as Loki, even the simplest magical tool becomes a powerful advantage. Loki's chaos is never random. He plans, calculates, and chooses the perfect moment to strike. Sometimes this makes him the hero, saving Asgard with a trick only he could pull off. Other times, it makes him the reason Asgard is in danger in the first place. Loki's powers don't make him the strongest god, but they make him one of the most unpredictable and most influential figures in the entire Norse myths. When we talk about Loki, most people imagine chaos, mischief, and trouble. But very few know that behind all the madness, Loki actually has a family. And the first person in that family is someone completely unexpected: Sigyn. Sigyn is often described as faithful, patient, and endlessly devoted. In a world filled with warriors, giants, and gods constantly fighting for power, she stands out as a quiet, steady presence. She doesn't wield thunder, she doesn't cast magic, yet her strength is emotional, unwavering, and deeply human. While Loki spends his time causing trouble across realms, Sigyn remains the person who sees the good in him, even when others can't. In many ways, she is the anchor to his storm. Loki and Sigyn have 2 children, Narvi and Vali. But like most things in Norse mythology, even this simple fact gets complicated. Some texts say both boys are Loki's sons. Other sources, especially later interpretations, claim that Vali is actually Odin's son, not Loki's. Mythology isn't always consistent, but that inconsistency adds to the mysterious nature of Loki's family. Loki's story is filled with mischief, but this is where his narrative takes a dark, tragic turn, one of the saddest tales in Norse mythology. After Loki's involvement in Balder's death, the gods finally decide they've had enough. They hunt him down, capture him, and punish him in a way that reflects the pain he caused. But instead of only punishing Loki, they involve his children. Vali's transformation. The gods seize Vali, Loki's own son, and use their power to transform him into a wolf. Not a symbolic wolf, a real, feral, uncontrollable beast. Vali attacks Narvi. In this monstrous form, Vali is driven by wild instincts. He loses all sense of family, all sense of self, and he kills his own brother, Narvi. It's one of the most brutal scenes in Norse mythology, not because of gods fighting giants, but because of the emotional horror of a family being torn apart. Narvi's fate. Narvi, now dead, suffers one final indignity. The gods take his intestines and use them as bindings, twisting them into magical restraints that harden into iron to tie Loki to a stone deep underground. This gruesome act becomes part of Loki's punishment, ensuring he cannot escape. And through all of this, every scream, every moment of pain, Sigyn stays by his side. As Loki lies bound beneath the earth, a venomous serpent above him drips poison down onto his face. Sigyn holds a bowl beneath the snake, catching every drop she can. When she must empty the bowl, the venom hits Loki's skin, causing him to writhe in agony. And according to myth, those moments of agony are what cause earthquakes. Even after everything Loki has done, after all the chaos, Sigyn remains. Her loyalty becomes one of the only soft, human stories in the harsh world of Norse mythology. If Loki's first family with Sigyn shows his human side, his second family reveals something entirely different: his connection to the ancient, untamed forces of chaos. This family begins with Angrboda, a powerful Jotun woman whose name literally means the one who brings grief. She is not gentle like Sigyn. She is fierce, mysterious, and deeply rooted in the shadowy side of Norse mythology. Angrboda lives in the dark forests of Jotunheim, the land of giants. She and Loki share the same chaotic bloodline, both clever, unpredictable, and feared by the gods. Their bond is not based on peace or stability. It's a union of two forces capable of reshaping fate itself. And from this union come three of the most terrifying beings in all of Norse mythology. Jormungandr is not just a snake. He is a cosmic serpent so enormous that he lives in the ocean surrounding the world and grows big enough to wrap his entire body around the earth. When Odin first sees this monstrous child, he hurls the serpent into the sea, hoping it will drown. But it doesn't. It grows and grows and grows, waiting for the day it will rise again. During Ragnarok, Jormungandr becomes Thor's final opponent, God of Thunder versus the Serpent of the World. Their final battle ends with both of them dying, each fulfilling their destined role. Fenrir is not an ordinary wolf. He is massive, unstoppable, and prophesied to kill Odin himself. From the moment he is born, the gods fear him. They try to raise him in Asgard, hoping to control the beast while he is still young. But Fenrir grows too quickly, too powerfully, and the gods panic. They trick him into being bound with a magical ribbon forged by dwarves. But the cost of this deception is high. Tyr, the god of war, loses his hand to Fenrir's jaws. During Ragnarok, Fenrir breaks his chains, swallows the sun, and ultimately kills Odin before being slain by Odin's son, Vidar. Fenrir is destiny-given form, an unstoppable force born from Loki's bloodline. The third child, Hel, is perhaps the most tragic. Half living flesh, half corpse, she embodies the line between life and death. Odin, disturbed by her appearance and power, casts her into Niflheim and places her in charge of the underworld. There, she becomes the ruler of Helheim, the realm where the dead who do not die in battle must go. She governs with cold neutrality, neither cruel nor kind, simply fulfilling the role that fate gives her. These three beings, Jormungandr, Fenrir, and Hel, are not just monsters. They are symbols of nature, fate, and the end of the world. Jormungandr represents the vastness of the world and its ultimate collapse. Fenrir embodies unstoppable destruction. Hel stands for the inevitability of death itself. There are many stories where Loki is clever, funny, or even heroic, but this one shows the darker side of his ego. It's a moment where jealousy takes over, and Loki's sharp tongue becomes a weapon powerful enough to shake all of Asgard. The story begins during a grand feast in Asgard. The hall is filled with music, laughter, and the shimmering light of golden torches. The gods toast to one another, enjoying peace for once, instead of preparing for war. Among them are two loyal servants, Fimafeng and Elder. Everyone praises their service, their dedication, their skill, and while the applause is genuine, Loki can't stand it. He watches the servants being honored and feels the praise slipping away from him. To Loki, admiration is like oxygen. He wants it, he needs it, and he hates when someone else receives it more than him. Driven by jealousy, Loki lashes out in the most extreme way possible. He kills Fimafeng. The celebration stops instantly. The music dies, cups drop, and every god in the hall turns toward Loki, stunned by his sudden violence. They rise to punish him, and Loki is forced to flee into the dark night. But he doesn't stay gone for long. A short while later, Loki returns to the entrance of the hall. He demands a seat at the feast. Yes, the same feast he just ruined with murder. The gods refuse, but Loki throws Odin's old promise in their faces. He reminds Odin that they once swore brotherhood and shared drinks as equals. Bound by honor and ancient oaths, Odin reluctantly agrees. Only then is Loki allowed to sit inside. But the moment Loki takes his seat, he turns the feast into a battlefield of words. What follows is one of the most chaotic scenes in Norse mythology. Loki's verbal assault on the gods, known as Lokasenna. He points at Odin first, calling him misguided, accusing him of making foolish decisions despite being the Allfather. He mocks Frigg and Freya, hurling accusations about their behavior, insults so harsh that most retellings avoid saying them aloud. He turns to Tyr, the god of war, and taunts him about his missing hand, twisting the story of Fenrir's binding into a humiliation. No one is spared. Loki spits venom at every corner of the hall, enjoying the shock, the anger, the rising tension. The atmosphere grows so heavy you could cut it with a knife. And then Thor walks in, late to the feast, hammer in hand, and confused by the cold silence. Loki doesn't hold back. He turns his insults toward Thor, mocking his strength, his temper, and his constant reliance on Mjolnir. But Thor is not amused. The moment he opens his mouth, the threat is clear. If Loki doesn't stop, Thor will smash him. And just like that, the bravado vanishes. Loki, who insulted every god without fear, realizes he does not want to face Thor's hammer. So he runs. He flees the hall as fast as he can, disappearing back into the night. This incident shows a side of Loki that's not playful or mischievous, but bitter, jealous, and cruel. It marks one of the key breaking points between Loki and the rest of the Aesir, a moment where words do more damage than any weapon ever could. Not all of Loki's stories are tragic or world-ending. Sometimes he causes chaos simply because he's bored. And one of his most famous pranks begins with something surprisingly small: a haircut. Sif, the wife of Thor, is known for her radiant golden hair. Hair so bright and beautiful that poets say it symbolizes the golden fields of harvest. Everyone admires Sif. Everyone respects her. Everyone except Loki, apparently. One night, Loki sneaks up while Sif is sleeping and cuts off every strand of her shimmering golden hair. For Loki, it's a joke, harmless fun, something to laugh about later. But for Sif, it's humiliation. When she wakes up, her hair gone, her pride shattered, the whole of Asgard is shocked. And none are more furious than Thor. Thor storming through Asgard is a sight no one wants to see. His footsteps shake the ground, thunder rumbles behind him, and his anger is blinding. When he confronts Loki, there's no clever escape, no witty comeback. Thor grabs him and threatens to break every bone in his body unless Loki fixes what he destroyed. And for once, Loki is scared. Under pressure and under Thor's grip, Loki swears that he will replace Sif's hair, not with a wig, not with magic, but with something better than what he cut. To do this, he travels to Svartalfheim, the underground realm of dwarves, the greatest craftsmen in all the 9 realms. Loki approaches the Evildy brothers, legendary dwarf smiths, and begs them to craft new hair for Sif. They agree and create something miraculous, Sif's new golden hair. The dwarves forge hair made of pure gold, enchanted so that it grows like real hair and shines even brighter than her original locks. But Loki, being Loki, doesn't stop there. He challenges another pair of dwarves, Brock and Atri, to outdo the Evildy brothers. It's part pride, part boredom, part Loki's uncontrollable need to stir chaos. And incredibly, they accept. From their forge, they create 3 of the most legendary treasures in all of Norse mythology: Gungnir, Odin's unstoppable spear; Draupnir, the ring that multiplies itself; and Mjolnir, Thor's mighty hammer. Mjolnir is an accidental masterpiece. Loki, trying to sabotage the dwarves mid-creation, transforms into a fly and bites the blacksmith on the eyelid. This causes a small mistake. The hammer's handle becomes short. But even with its flaw, Mjolnir becomes the most powerful weapon the gods have ever known. A weapon that shakes mountains, slays giants, and becomes the symbol of Thor himself. In the end, the gods receive Sif's beautiful new hair, Odin's spear, Freyr's enchanted boar, a magical ring, and Thor's legendary hammer. All of these treasures exist because Loki tried to pull a prank that went way too far. It's the perfect example of Loki's chaotic nature. He causes trouble, he creates disasters, but sometimes, in the middle of the chaos, he ends up giving the gods the greatest gifts they'll ever receive. A prank that started with scissors ends with Mjolnir, the hammer that will decide the fate of gods at Ragnarok. After countless battles with giants and monsters, the Aesir grow tired of living in fear. Asgard, home of the gods, may be magnificent, but it is not safe. Enemies look beyond the horizon, and the gods know one disastrous invasion could shatter everything. So they come up with a bold idea: build a massive wall. A fortress so strong that no giant could ever break through it. But there's one big problem. None of the gods have the time or skill to build something that massive. Just when they're wondering what to do, a stranger arrives at Asgard's gates. A single man, quiet and confident, leading a powerful stallion named Svartalfari, a horse with unmatched strength. The builder makes a shocking offer. "I will build your wall, and I will do it in only 3 seasons." The gods are stunned. No one could build something that massive so quickly unless they were hiding something. Then the builder reveals his price: Freya, the most beautiful goddess, the sun, and the moon. The entire hall falls silent. Freya is furious. Odin is suspicious, and the gods are caught between desperation and disbelief. No one wants to agree to the builder's demands. Losing Freya alone would be devastating, but the sun and moon? That would plunge the world into disaster. Then Loki steps forward. With a sly smile and a tone that sounds way too confident, he proposes a plan. Give him the job, but change the rules. Loki explains, instead of 3 seasons, give him only 1 winter to finish, and forbid him from receiving any outside help, no assistance, no extra labor. It sounds impossible. It is impossible. The gods love the idea. Odin agrees. Freya protests, but eventually even she sees the logic. If the builder fails, the gods get a partially built wall for free. If he succeeds, which seems unlikely, they can still blame Loki. Everyone wins, except possibly Loki. The gods present the new rule: 1 winter, no help, no exceptions. The builder looks at them and simply nods. Then he whistles to Svartalfari, and the horse trots forward. That's when the gods notice something strange. Svartalfari isn't just any horse. He's incredibly powerful, almost unnaturally so. The moment the deal is made, the builder starts working day and night. He hauls stone after stone with superhuman strength, and Svartalfari does the work of 10 horses combined. The gods watch from the walls of Asgard, their confidence slowly turning into panic. Loki's brilliant plan is starting to look like a disaster. Because with every passing day, the wall grows higher, the gates grow stronger, and winter is moving much faster than the gods expected. If the builder actually succeeds, Freya will be taken away, and the sun and moon will vanish forever. By the middle of winter, the gods realize the truth. This builder is not human. He is likely a giant, disguised, determined, and dangerously capable. And thanks to Loki's idea, the gods are now trapped in a deal they might lose. Odin's anger turns toward Loki. Freya is furious. Even Thor prepares his hammer. And Loki, realizing he may have doomed the gods, now has only one option: fix the mess he created by any means necessary. Winter in Asgard is harsh, but that year it feels even colder. As the days pass, the gods watch in growing horror as the mysterious builder makes progress far faster than anyone expected. Every morning, the gods climb the hill overlooking the construction site, and every morning they see the same unsettling sight. The builder stacking massive stones, lifting boulders bigger than houses, and placing them into perfect formation, all with the help of his unbelievably strong stallion, Svadilfari. Svadilfari doesn't tire. He doesn't slow down. He drags entire mountains behind him, as if he was made from the strength of the giants themselves. And that's when the gods realize something terrifying. At this rate, he will finish on time. If that happens, the price must be paid. Freya, the sun, and the moon. The thought alone sends the Aesir into panic. Odin summons the gods to an emergency meeting. The air is filled with anger, tension, and fingers pointed in one direction, toward Loki. After all, this was his idea, his brilliant strategy, his rule change, his confidence. And now Freya's freedom and the balance of the cosmos hangs on the edge of disaster. Thor slams his fist onto the table. Freya demands a solution. The gods give Loki an ultimatum: fix this, or pay for it. With no other choice, Loki does what Loki always does when backed into a corner. He gets creative, he gets reckless, and he gets weird. Loki decides the key to stopping the builder is stopping Svadilfari, the unstoppable horse. So one night, as the builder and Svadilfari haul stones under the moonlight, Loki puts his plan into action. He shapeshifts. In later, more detailed versions of the story, he transforms into a mare, a female horse, knowing exactly how to distract Svadilfari. The moment Loki, now a mare, appears in the forest, he whinnies softly. Svadilfari's ears perk up. He breaks his focus, and then breaks into a sprint. The builder screams and chases after him, but it's no use. The horse is gone, and Loki leads him on a chaotic chase deep into the woods. Hours pass, then days. Without Svadilfari, the builder's unmatched progress collapses. He can't lift the stones alone. He can't move them fast enough. He can't finish the wall by the end of winter. As the final day of winter arrives, the builder breaks down in rage. He reveals his true form, a giant, not a mortal craftsman. This confirmed what Loki and several gods suspected all along. And now that he's broken the oath and shown his giant nature, the deal is void. Thor, furious and ready, steps forward and strikes the giant down with Mjolnir. In the end, Freya stays in Asgard. The sun and moon remain untouched. The wall, though unfinished, still stands as a partial fortress. It's not perfect, huge gaps remain, leaving Asgard partially vulnerable. But the gods accept it. After all, it's hard to complain about getting half a wall for free. Loki eventually returns from the forest, not alone. Because as the myth goes, after distracting Svadilfari in mare form, Loki ends up giving birth to Sleipnir, the eight-legged horse that later becomes Odin's mount. Once again, Loki's chaos spirals into something no one saw coming. He ruined the builder's plan. He saved Freya and the sky itself. And he accidentally created one of the most legendary creatures in Norse mythology. Chaos, trouble, danger, and yet unexpected gifts. That is Loki. Loki is one of the most complicated figures in all of Norse mythology, and that's exactly why he's unforgettable. Unlike the other gods, who tend to stay in their roles, Thor is the protector, Odin is the wise king, Freya as the goddess of beauty and magic, Loki slips between categories. He can be a hero, a villain, a savior, a destroyer, and sometimes all of these at once in the same story. From the beginning, Loki stands out because he represents chaos in a world obsessed with order. Asgard is built on rules, oaths, and honor. Loki is built on, well, whatever he feels like doing that day. And yet, despite constantly causing disasters, he is also the reason many of the gods' greatest treasures exist. Think about it. No Loki, no Sif's golden hair. No Loki, no spear Gungnir. No Loki, no ring Draupnir. And most importantly, no Loki, no Mjolnir, the hammer that defends the cosmos. In a strange way, Loki acts as the spark that pushes the gods forward. He creates problems, yes, but he also delivers solutions that shape the fate of Asgard forever. He is the ultimate reminder that even chaos has a place in the story of the universe. But Loki's duality is what makes him dangerous. Every time he helps the gods, he also slowly pushes them toward disaster. Every prank becomes bigger, every mistake becomes darker. And over time, Loki shifts from the gods' mischievous companion to their greatest threat. That journey reaches its peak in Ragnarok. By the time the final battle approaches, Loki has chosen his side, and it is in Asgard. He leads the giants, the monsters, and the forces of destruction. The same trickster who once sat at Odin's table now becomes the one determined to bring Odin down. So why is Loki important? Because he is the embodiment of change. Because he is the reminder that even the gods cannot control everything. Because without Loki, Norse mythology wouldn't just lose a character, it would lose its tension, its twists, and its most dramatic moments. In the end, Loki shows us that every story needs a little chaos, even if it tears the world apart. Loki is, without question, one of the most unpredictable figures in all of myth. He is brilliant, capable of outsmarting giants, crafting impossible solutions, and creating treasures that define the gods themselves. But he is also dangerous, a walking disaster waiting to happen, capable of turning a harmless prank into a catastrophe that shakes the foundations of Asgard. Throughout these stories, we see two sides of him constantly battling for control. The Loki who saves the gods, and the Loki who endangers them. The Loki who invents miracles, and the Loki who sparks chaos. It's this dual nature, this beautiful contradiction, that makes Norse mythology so rich, so dramatic, and so unforgettable. Without Loki, the myths would lose their tension, their humor, their tragedy, and most importantly, their heart. He is the curveball in a world built on honor and order. He is the troublemaker who keeps even the gods on edge. He is the spark that brings both wonder and destruction. And that's why Loki remains one of the most fascinating characters ever created. You never know whether he's about to save the day or end it. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Which Loki story do you want next? Do you want the tale of his children, the monstrous wolf, the world serpent, and the queen of the underworld? Or maybe the full story of how Loki becomes the villain of Ragnarok? Let me know in the comments. Your suggestion might be the next video.